that it's basically, if you're exercising before breakfast, you're giving yourself a competitive advantage for weight loss.
I mean, it's a fascinating topic, everything around breakfast and timing of exercise. And there's a group out at the University of Bath, and it's called the Bath Breakfast Project. So they're a group of researchers that are investigating everything around breakfast in terms of the types of breakfast we eat and whether we exercise before or after. And the really cool thing here is that if we're someone who is overweight or trying to lose weight, when you do exercise in the fasted state, it's amazing that our body, it needs fuel, right? And of course, we have fuel on our body. So even if you're 10% body fat, so you're lean, you've got almost a six pack, you still have 30,000 calories of energy on your body, which means you could run like 7 or 8 marathons with nothing. So you imagine someone who's 20% or 30%, we've got all this energy, right? And so to your point, you wake up in the morning and you might not feel like you have the energy, but the cool thing, if you do resistance training, on the one hand, the fat within your muscles, which is called intramuscular fat, you actually start improving your ability, your body does, the ability to use that fat as a fuel source for your muscle. Now it gets really interesting here because insulin is the blood sugar hormone. And if you're more pre-diabetic or diabetic or overweight with a lot of central adiposity, so belly fat, then you have really high insulin levels. And that's not a good thing for longevity, right? Some of the original research, Dr. Gerald Reaven, Stanford Medical School back in 2000 show that that's a big risk factor for cardiovascular disease, cancers, dementia. And so when you train in the morning, you do resistance training, you use more intramuscular fat, and that's really correlated with really lowering this insulin in the more, your chronic levels of insulin. And so it's a great way to, again, you're basically moving your body in a state where there's not a lot in the fuel tank coming from the food you're eating. So your body has to use what's in the reserves, so your body fat stores, to really kick things up. And it's amazing how that is a powerful signal. And it happens also on the aerobic side. So, it's a little bit different in terms of the pathway, but when you haven't eaten anything and you go off, and I loved your point there about like even walking, because what people struggle with is, especially if they've exercised in the past, and then I tell them, hey, look, just get up and go for a walk. And if they're a type A personality, they think you're giving them like the lower version of things. And they're, oh, I don't want to do that. That's not intense enough. And they don't realize that the goal is actually just to train yourself to get up and do something. It's almost like, I don't care what you do. I just want you to get used to waking up at 6 or 6:30 or whatever it is and do something, because that's actually the hardest part, right? The getting out of bed part. And I'm sure you've seen this. You get somebody walking, and then by the end of the week, without even telling them, they might start jogging a little bit. Or by the end of 2 weeks, they're running in the morning. But had you suggested that right off the bat, they would have gone, oh man, that first morning they wake up and it's, oh geez, that feels too intense. And we got some cool studies to show that, right? You ask someone to go down and give you 30 push-ups, and something like 30% of the group wants to do it. You ask someone to go down and give you one push-up, almost 100% of the group wants to do it. And at the end of the day, both groups are actually quite similar in the amount of push-ups they can do. So it's this idea of like, if you can just get the person down on the floor and ready to do one, once they're down there, they're gonna show you what they got. And it's the same with that morning movement piece. And so just what you said, I think the fact that life is busy in midlife is like, if we can carve this out in the morning is great. I know people's schedules are different. So for some people, it could even be after dinner, rather than, we all fall prey to like the Netflix and red wine or whatever it might be, a bottle of beer. But like, if we can do some movement after dinner, if that's the only time you can get it in, then that's a pretty good time too. And then that way you get into that natural rhythm and you can start making some progress.